course of the 20th century, a small army of cine enthusiasts in towns and villages all over Wales were busy recording their families and friends on celluloid. Between them, they were creating a record of Welsh life far more colourful and intimate than any television crew ever could. We're about to open this hidden archive of the Welsh 20th century and discover what it reveals about all our lives.
What a beautiful child.
Come on, you're as ugly as hell.
Many of these movies have been discovered in attics and garages across the country, while others have lain for years in the vaults of the National Screen and Sound Archive of Wales. These silent films are vivid, but the characters in them are mute. We're about to reunite family members and friends with their old home movies so that they can give a voice to the flickering figures on screen and share their stories.
As you can see, my father was full of fun. Always laughing, always joking. He was great fun to be with.
We'll share their delight as these old films open up a window into a vanished past.
Memories can fade away. Films brings it back like that.
And we'll witness some spectacles that are quite remarkable.
Good Lord, that's not an Olympic sport, is it?
From the pre-war years of black and white film to the last days of the cine era, these home movies form a unique record of a way of life that is already a distant memory for us, and which will be unrecognisable to future generations. They capture the people of Wales celebrating life in all its glory.
Have you noticed anything, Georgina? Well, it hasn't rained in any of these movies.
Well, it wouldn't dare, look. It wouldn't dare.
Today, we film our families and friends and share the movies we make without a second thought. But for most of the last century, this kind of movie making was restricted to a handful of passionate, trailblazing enthusiasts. Welsh amateur filmmakers documented not only their families, but also their communities. To understand the importance of the legacy they've left, we've come to Butetown in Cardiff, one of Britain's oldest multicultural communities.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, next door to the shop, there. Yeah, there's an early one.
Today, a group of friends who grew up here in the 1950s and 60s have come together for a screening of an amateur film that captures the heyday of the neighbourhood they knew as Tiger Bay.
There I am. There's a Lynette. Oh, look at Lily. Oh, that's right. Late as usual. That's lovely. That's the closest you'll ever get, Paul.
Most of those here were once members of the Rainbow Club, which used to arrange trips and activities for the children of Tiger Bay. The club was run by Mr. and Mrs. Capener, who owned a local travel agency. While Mr. Capener stayed firmly behind the camera, Mrs. Capener was always at the heart of the action.
Wherever there was something on in Wales, if Mrs. Capener was in her power, we were there in the front row. She made sure that we shone.
She was excellent at getting things for free. So any celebrity who passed Cardiff, she'd be there, you know, and she'd make sure that she got some donation from them, you know. Shirley Bassey gave her a dress that was raffled. Bruce Forsyth gave her something. She was really good at raising the money to keep the centre going.
I'd just like to say thank you very much, Mrs. Capener.
Yes.
Well done. Oh, this is when the Queen came. Yeah. When the Queen came to camp. What year was that?
So what year was it? 61?
The Rainbow Club's name reflected the fact that Tiger Bay was a cultural melting pot where everyone was welcome.
Many of our grandmothers were Welsh-speaking women.
And they held us together, and so we knew we were, whatever nationality we originated from outside of Britain, whatever colour we had, we knew one thing, we was Welsh.
One of the highlights of the year for the children of Tiger Bay, whatever their colour or creed, was the Muslim festival of Eid.
So we always called it Arab Christmas. It's Eid, but we always said Arab Christmas.
It's Arab Christmas. We are Arabs for a day. On went the scarves.
Those celebrations, we all were Arab. We would go to the Zawiya, we'd stand there and wait, and we knew how to chant, you know. And then after we'd done our chant, we'd queue up, we'd queue up and get, you know, get all the goodies.
That's why we're Arabs.
Dig in.
Please say, can I have some more?
Where anybody went in, if you wanted food, you were welcome. Never mind what religion was, what colour you were, you were always welcome.
That's good, look at that. It was wonderful.
This film shows children of all different colours, different nationalities, and everyone has their best Sunday clothes on. You know, it's not just the Arab children have their best Sunday clothes on, everyone had their best Sunday clothes on, and everybody took part in it. For me, it shows integration at its best.
We had a very lucky childhood. We were all very close. We had friends who were white, we had friends who were black, we had friends who were Arab, but they were just our friends. But the rest of Cardiff saw us quite differently. You know, they saw us differently. They saw us as, you know, it was notorious. It wasn't safe to come down here.
You had no black people working in town.
Yeah, no.
We couldn't go to none of the clubs in town. You know, we and my sister, our generation, was the first to say, well, you know, no more of this.
I was 23 the first time I came across prejudice. I couldn't believe it. It felt like somebody had punched me.
For the people of Tiger Bay, their community was an oasis of tolerance in a world that regarded them with suspicion and prejudice. But many of the neighbourhood's houses were old, damp and run down. In the early 1960s, Cardiff Council embarked on a redevelopment programme, tearing down many of the old houses of the bay and scattering some of their residents across council estates on the outskirts of the city.
When it came to the demolition and moving people away, they were just throwing flotsam and jetsam here and there because they had no idea they were destroying a community.
Yeah. When we were young, we thought it would last forever and that was going to be our life forever. But it was such a short period of time that was.
I think this film caught us at a golden age.
Right, not best.
And that film there shows Tiger Bay in full bloom.
Yeah.
All those beautiful young kids of all nationalities, happy.
This happiness was fostered in no small part by the Rainbow Club, which opened up a world of new experiences for the children of Tiger Bay.
The good thing is that there were people who were interested in us, like the Capeners. So we do have that film. We do have some photographs and stuff that records, you know, how we were. And, you know, and thank God for that.
Look, you clapping.
With his cine camera, Mr. Capener created a unique insider's view of this community, full of life and humour, that would otherwise be lost to us forever.
We went to Jackson's.
Wales's amateur filmmaking tradition stretches back to the early days of the medium. It took off in the 1920s when companies like Pathé and Kodak began selling cameras and projectors aimed at the general public. One of the first people in Wales to get to grips with this new technology was a trailblazing entrepreneur from the market town of Brecon. The shop he started over a century ago is still run by his grandson. Today, Andrew Clark is meeting his brother Philip for a private screening of the films made by their grandfather Jack. Clark filmed some of the earliest Welsh amateur movies in existence, dating from the mid-1920s onwards.
Is that Dad? That looks like Dad. This is Dad, Auntie Vera, and Granny over there.
Yeah. Being told what to do.
Yes, being as usual. Yes, we've stood there many a time. Jump about, look interesting.
He's got them all posing again.
Yeah, he's set them all up, isn't he? There's nothing...
Doing what they're told to do.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Look at them messing about.
Yeah.
Jack Clark was the son of a local gardener. He could have followed in his father's footsteps, but instead set out to make a career for himself as a professional photographer.
I remember him as quite a gentle, quiet man who was always obsessed with what he was doing. He made his living by invention, and he invented his own extraordinary life for himself. He made his money by going to the Isle of Man every summer and taking people's photographs as they went onto the beach. Then he'd go away and he would obviously, develop them. Then in the afternoon, he would do his Punch and Judy show on the beach. And then when the people left the beach in the evening, they could buy their photographs. And that's how he made his money.
In the mid-1920s, Jack used the profits from his photography business to buy a cine camera and began to make a moving record of life in Brecon.
That's Uncle Albert. That's his brother, who's the teacher.
Yeah.
Yes, he's wound them all up.
Yeah, he's got him marching round just to go round.
Yes.
To stand to attention.
Stand to attention.
The exercises being performed for the benefit of Jack's camera were a regular part of the school curriculum at the time.
Just imagine doing that today. Physical jerks, as I used to call it.
Every morning.
Every morning, physical jerks in the ear before you went into class. Carnival, Brecon Carnival by the look of it.
Yeah.
Jack's films also capture the scale and importance of the annual carnival in a rural town like Brecon.
And the Carnival Queen. She's somebody's granny now, I expect. Or great-granny. The boxing, look, the amateur boxing. Oh. What on earth is that? It's like a five-a-side with a blooming
big ball.
Big ball.
I think you can pick out this. It's got a daily paper. Daily Mail.
Daily Mail written on it, look.
Yeah.
Good Lord. Well, that's not an Olympic sport, is it? He had one of the first cars in Brecon, didn't he?
Yeah.
Grandpa?
Yeah.
He said to me one day, he said, I've a fantastic life, Philip. I saw the first motor car on the road and a man landing on the moon. How's that for transport, he said.
Entrepreneur Jack had a keen eye for the opportunities opened up by new technology.
Where we're sitting, yes, he was a shareholder in the Colosseum here in Brecon. He put the first person to put electricity into the local guild hall. He would have no problem with mobile phones. He would have no problem with internet. He would love it. He was ahead of his time, always wanted to know what's around the corner.
When Brecon made a great leap forward in healthcare after the First World War, Jack was on hand to record it, but he couldn't have been prepared for what was about to happen.
I think this is the opening of the Brecon Hospital.
Ah, yes.
And when the guy who was opening it dropped dead on the podium.
Yes,
And
the opening of the hospital.
Brecon Hospital, yeah.
And the guy who'd put the money up for it to be built.
Yeah.
And he had a heart attack, didn't he? As he opened it, they took him inside.
Yeah.
Not only was he the first patient, he was the first person to die there as well. It's fascinating because it's living history, and I think really, really important. He recorded the events of a small community, and that gives me a sense of pride, really.
Where Jack Clark led, others soon followed. In the 1930s, a new generation of amateur filmmakers embraced home movie making. This was thanks in part to the launch of 8mm film, a new format that was cheaper than its predecessors. Cine enthusiasts could now afford to record not just major events like carnivals and civic ceremonies, but also their everyday lives. In the Valley's town of Aberdare, one such early enthusiast was local pharmacist Archie Andrews. The films he shot offer us an intimate view of life in an industrial community in the 1930s and 40s. Many have been carefully collected by Archie's next-door neighbour Christine and by his cousin John.
There we are.
That's quite a cache you've got there.
It looks as if we've got a marvellous legacy here from Archie.
Is Archie?
Yeah.
There was always a camera around. I still have one of his, a little Kodak Brownie that he gave me, and always a movie camera around. Cine, he called it.
Archie had a willing cast of performers for his movies among his extended family, including John's father and his many uncles.
That's my father.
You're in the back garden.
Yeah.
Archie was staging all this again.
And you can see down the
the
bottom.
producer.
There's my mother down the bottom, look.
He was a photographer, director and producer.
A tea cosy and a calendar. Here's my mum. Dear. She scrubs some floors all the time, no doubt. There's the trombones.
While Archie's cousins enjoyed larking around on camera, they were also dedicated musicians who played in Aberaman's Silver Band. These films chronicle the important part the band played in the cultural life of the valley.
This is the Aberdare Park.
Aberdare Park.
And they're going over to the band dais at the centre of the lake now. My grandfather will be conducting that. There's my grandfather. And both my uncles are playing that. There we are. There's the seated area right the way around the park lake. Aberdare, Aberaman especially, was a cultural centre. There was a hell of a lot of people went forward to the Eisteddfods. Yeah, it shows the culture that was here.
Archie played an active role in the civic life of Aberaman and was secretary of the local YMCA. His films offer us a snapshot of a Welsh working-class community at play.
Look at the haircuts. And it's all bare knuckles as well.
Oh, my goodness. This is all staged.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Archie's staging things.
Cine enthusiasts like Archie used their cameras to record their precious leisure hours. When Archie holidayed with family and friends, the camera went with him, so that he'd be able to relive these good times again and again.
They were on the donkey. Yeah. Do you know, I think I remember seeing this when I was a kid. They enjoyed themselves in their free time, but they're very hard-working.
On the 8th of May 1945, all of Aberaman was in a holiday mood as the town turned out to celebrate the end of the war in Europe. Archie captured the immense relief and joy of VE Day on film.
I remember all the preparations, and I remember we were carrying stuff down, we were making blancmanges, jellies, goodness knows what.
The twins there.
This is a lovely one.
Yeah.
He gets those twins in 3 times, I think. Here he comes again, he's moving them along so to make sure...
Little Slough, his name is. And those lads are still alive. And that's me in the pram.
Oh, there you go.
And that's Hitler, I think. They're going to burn that after.
I love the washing on the line. Most of these families were miners.
Oh, yeah.
All customers of Archie's, of course. I think you can see how much community spirit there was in those days. People cared about one another, helped look after one another. Dads were all employed. Quite different, I think, from today.
In the past, there was so much work about. A lot of people would say it was collieries, but it wasn't. Shop work, railway.
Were the brickworks in Aberaman?
Brickworks, A wagon works, Aberdeen cables works. You could walk out of a job if you didn't like it one day, go down the road and get a job the same day.
Lovely, you know, very emotional to see all these people, you know, all of this, but, you know, sad in lots of ways because so many of them are not with us now.
I don't know if they got the victory signs round the right way though.
Pharmacists like Archie Andrews could get their cine film cheap at wholesale prices. But for most people, home movie making during the 1940s was an expensive hobby, reserved for the better off. One of the few families who could afford it lived in the genteel seaside town of Penarth.
I can't remember when I last saw them.
Today, brothers Andrew, Peter and Robert have organised a family get-together to watch the films made by their late father, consultant surgeon Hilary Wade. His home movies record a life quite distinct from that of most Welsh people of the era.
Must have been wonderful wooden skis.
50s,
They were very
60s.
long, weren't they?
Yeah, late 50s, aren't
Yeah.
His father.
His father.
He was a lovely bloke. Really very friendly. He loved a good time. He liked parties. When he arrived in a room, everybody would go up and chat to him.
I think a strange mixture of charisma and, you know, somebody that people gathered round and had a drink with, but a shyness and a love of, you know, he liked to go off on country walks and he liked his solitude in the mountains, skiing as well.
As a consultant surgeon, Hilary Wade could afford skiing holidays in the Alps that were beyond the wildest dreams of most people in Wales at the time. When his sons were old enough, he was keen to share the experience with them.
I remember pushing Robert once and he fell over.
You pushed me my first time out.
Or was it you?
When I was 8, and I tore a ligament, but luckily I was back skiing again soon. Yeah.
And of course they'd take a bottle up to the top. Why not?
A whole match.
Yeah.
Look at that view.
Fantastic.
Hilary Wade had served as a captain in the Royal Army Medical Corps during the Second World War and had earned the Military Cross for his bravery. After the war ended, he married Joan Bentinck, and a year later, Joan gave birth to twin boys, Peter and James.
Oh, this is me and my brother, was it?
Yeah.
Me and the twin.
Yeah. What was in that glass, I wonder?
Nice to see Mum and Dad, you know, being hands-on parents, because, you know, you climbing all over them and, yeah, just a sort of naturalness.
But the twins' happy childhood together would be all too short. At the age of 4, Peter's brother James became seriously ill.
My twin died at the age of 4 and he had glomerulonephritis. This is a relatively mild inflammation of the kidneys. Nowadays, you just take a tablet, you get better.
The tragedy took a heavy toll on Joan Wade.
She went through some pretty awful experiences.
Yeah, she did, yeah.
With losing Jamie and,
yeah.
You know, I think that came out in later life.
She was a very attractive woman. She was born in Malaysia, and spent time in the Far East and China. And there was a shortage of beautiful women out there, I think. So she was very popular when she turned up in China amongst the expats. She was a socialite, wasn't she? She loved giving parties.
She played the full part, I suppose, of what might have been expected of the consultant's wife.
Joan soon had her hands full, balancing her duties as a hostess with her role as mother to 3 boisterous boys, following the birth of younger sons, Robert and Andrew.
What a beautiful child.
Yes, beauty in the eye of the beholder. Come on, you're as ugly as hell. Not very many clothes, are you, Robert?
No.
You probably wouldn't allow this to be processed now, do you?
Oh yeah, I'm practically drowning in the surf. And...
Oh, there's you in your onesie.
What on earth is that?
And obviously, this was leisure time, but Father still had a three-piece suit on.
Thanks to their father's filmmaking, today the Wade brothers have a precious visual record of their exceptional childhood.
Privileged, I think, is the one word. There's no doubt. We had a lot of experiences that a lot of children wouldn't have had.
Much less of a social divide now than there was then. I think the upper and middle classes were separated from the working classes, if you like. And people are much more mixed now and accept each other much better.
I'm so pleased that that we've preserved these.
Those families who could afford a cine camera used them to record everyday life. With the passage of time, some of their films have taken on a deeper emotional importance. In the sleepy coastal town of Penrhyn Bay lives the proud owner of a collection of home movies that mean a great deal to her. Myra Wigsell comes from a family with aristocratic connections.
My mother, before she met my father, she worked for a family called Werners. That's a photograph of Lady Zia Werner. Her father was first cousin to Tsar Nicholas of Russia.
During the Second World War, Myra's mother accompanied one of Lady Zia's daughters on a trip to North Wales, where she met and fell in love with Ruthin shopkeeper Richard Williams. The couple were soon married, and Richard bought a cine camera which he used to film their daughters Myra and Rhonwen as they grew up. Myra hasn't seen these childhood films for 20 years.
I'm just wondering how I'll feel when I actually see them, but it'll be wonderful to see my parents. That will be the best thing for me, because I was exceedingly fond and close to my father and also to my mother, and I was lucky. I had a wonderful, wonderful childhood. This is me on the beach. We had lovely hats in that picture that were sent to me from Bermuda when Lady Zia went there. I remember going on that seesaw round and round and round till you got dizzy. I was lucky, as you can see in these pictures. My memory is that I was really very happy. But at the time I didn't realise how fortunate I was, because my father was relatively well off.
Myra's family were one of the few in the area who owned a car, and when Myra was 7, they embarked on a motoring holiday to the continent.
I remember the car being craned onto the ferry to go across the channel. They didn't drive on then. They used to pick your car up and swing it over. Oh, I was terrified. Yes, look at me. I'd been crying. Terrified of going on that boat I was. What a coward. That's my Teddy. I've still got him upstairs. And there wasn't a lot of traffic on the roads then. We used to picnic on the side. And I remember distinctly in the car, as we drove through the French villages, the French people that came out as we passed, they used to be showing the V sign when they saw the GB plate on the back of the car.
As well as running a successful grocer's business, Myra's father had also inherited a farm in Henllan in Denbighshire. The films he shot there capture the filmmaker and his family in a way that still photographs can never do.
That's me again. This is on the farm in Henllan, and I remember running when they were baling the straw. As you can see, my father was full of fun. Always laughing, always joking, very happy. He was great fun to be with. I was, very, very close to my father. That's our car. It used to be fun to ride, I remember that, on the running board that was on the side. That's my sister.
When Myra was just 13, her happy childhood came to an abrupt end after her father had suffered a severe stroke.
I remember the night he died. I remember all the coming and going. I could hear people. And then it sort of all went quiet. And I remember lying there in the dark feeling quite nervous. I think if I looked at the death certificate, he died about 3 o'clock in the morning. So I wouldn't have known until the next day. I didn't go to his funeral. My mother decided, not to. Looking back, I didn't at the time realise, but my mother was very lonely. I do remember seeing her cry, but she used to try not to cry in front of us. She was a very brave lady. She was very stoical. She was very in command of herself. I thought I might be upset, but I'm not. It's lovely to see my father again, because he was lovely and we had such fun.
The Second World War affected every aspect of life in Britain. With industry geared towards the war effort, materials were in short supply, and home movie makers found film stock hard to come by. As bombs rained down on towns and cities, some escaped to the safety of the Welsh countryside. The Crawford family from Wallasey were staying in their holiday home in the quiet village of Llanarmon and Iall when a bomb landed on their house in Merseyside, destroying it. Their holiday home was soon filled to the rafters with aunts, uncles and cousins all looking for a place of refuge.
They all came here, and initially 21 people came at first. Gradually they went back, except the children stayed here with my mother, so she had her hands full.
While Joan and Peter's mother tended to this gang of unexpected house guests, their father was busy filming them with his 16mm cine camera.
We had one night 21 people slept in the summer house and the garage and everywhere. I mean, as children we thought this was wonderful. We used to play all sorts of games because there was always lots of people to play with. So we used to go collecting wood and bilberries and gooseberries. And for children it was really good fun, but for the adults they must have been really worried to death, but never said so. And we weren't allowed to complain, because if we complained, Mum said we were letting Hitler win the war.
While their cousins eventually returned to Merseyside, for the Crawford family, who had no house to go back to, Llanarmon and Iall became their new home. Peter and Joan's father, Bill, was soon out and about with his cine camera. Thanks to him, we have a rare visual record of life in a Welsh rural community in the 1940s and 50s. Bill's home movies became the talk of the village, and the film nights he put on in the local school used to draw a crowd.
Well, I remember I used to carry the projector for me up to the schoolroom, and then all the villages and people, perhaps 50 or 60 people, would come to see that.
It was an age when people made their own entertainment, and one of the events Bill filmed was the annual creation of a bathing pool in the local river.
Well, what you see there's the managing director
Yes.
With a brown jumper on. Making all the others do what I was telling them to do. And then the essence of a swimming pool. And they used to go in there all the summer holidays and that. There's a picture there, one fella, he's the vicar. He's the vicar, he used to go for a swim as well.
It's just
there he is on the end, he's the vicar.
Whatever the season, Bill Crawford was out with his camera, filming his children as they delighted in the pleasures of a rural childhood.
That's me getting pulled on the shed. I was 3, that's my mother made me a pixie hat, as you can see there, which...
Yeah, all the fashion then.
All the fashion then, yeah.
Yes. We got short of food because they couldn't get
We
vans
had a
to the
big
village.
tin of corned beef like this
Yes,
in the
saved
shed.
for the war.
And we kept it for ages. And then we opened it and it lasted a couple of
That's
weeks.
Dad, that's the...
That's the filmmaker. That was
Yeah,
the,
Dad was game to do this, wasn't he?
yeah.
In the years after the war, the age of austerity gradually began to give way to a more affluent way of life. As wages rose and consumer goods became more affordable, cine cameras increasingly found their way into the hands of working-class men and women. One of them was the father of Patricia Haynes from Pontypridd. Her dad, Evan Morgan, was a mechanic and cine enthusiast who used his camera to record the family's annual holiday to Bury Port.
Oh, that's my father with the curtains. I was wondering when I'd wear my net dresses. Holiday undercover. Oh. That's the old standard. And the trailer behind with all the camp beds and bedding. That's my auntie and uncle on the motorbike. Down in Bury Port now and taking all the stuff out of the trailer. One year we took the dogs, cats, chickens, everything. Oh my God, look at my hair. That is the toilet. My auntie and uncle there messing around. And supposed to be playing a violin. Oh God. Just dancing around and having a bit of fun. No music, just making our own music up and whatever. And oh God, look at uncle with the hat on. Oh God. Oh, look, my dress. Oh! We didn't have a lot of money, but I used to go out fishing with my father. Oh, there's the worms. Dad with his... Oh, he got his photo at last. With the fish. And I mean, how my mother used to cook the fish on the primus thing, you know, but it was like a bit of chicken. How she used to cook it, I'll never know. But oh, it was beautiful. All of them just having the relay race. Oh, there's my auntie and uncle dancing. My 2 cousins. My uncle was playing the accordion. And he's got a bottle blowing. And I'm on a 3-legged chair. With my pigtails. Oh, gosh. But it was happy times. Oh, yeah, definitely.
As home movie making became a popular pastime, more and more enthusiasts like Evan Morgan joined local cine societies. These clubs enabled their members to pool their technical know-how and to show off their films. One of the films Evan Morgan showed at Cardiff Cine Society recorded the people of Pontypridd celebrating the coronation of Queen Elizabeth II in 1953. There was a spirit of optimism in the air as people greeted the dawn of a new Elizabethan age.
All the cousins and that, and all having their tea parties with their cakes. This is in Niagara Street, now we're doing a 3-legged race. Oh, there we are. All the boys and that are all playing with their sacks. Egg and spoon race with my aunties and uncles and my nan. tug of war.
And for local businesses in Pontypridd, the coronation was the perfect opportunity for a spot of self-promotion.
Corona bottles, that was marvellous, that was. We used to put the projector into the kitchen, and then we were in the bedroom with all the fun chairs, and they were always saying, "Where's the popcorn there, Van? Where's the popcorns?" And then he had the screen then, and seeing all the family films. We've left a legacy that you can see over and over again, but I'm very, very proud.
At the head of the Dulais Valley lies Onlloyn, a village with a proud mining heritage. Today, local residents Georgina and Carol have come to the welfare hall that was once the centre of a thriving community.
I mean, there was 3 collieries in this little area. We had Cymawd, Onlloyn and Banwan. They've gone. There is no employment, and to get kids to have employment, they got to get out to the village. So, you know, we are beginning to be the forgotten village, really.
Thanks to one local man who Carol and Georgina knew well, we still have a vivid picture of Onlloyn in its heyday.
I got married in 1963, and of course my father-in-law was the baker, Dilwyn Williams.
Well, there was not a lot of entertainment up the top end of the valley there was a cinema and Seven Sisters, but these films and other films he would show in the pavilion up on Onlloyn by the football field.
That dog is called Cymro.
And that is Clifford Pegley.
Yes, and the dog was bought of somebody working in Onlloyn Colliery, and they gave £5 for that dog, and it's supposed to be a corgi. Well, it doesn't look like a corgi, does it?
My brother's here, with a red cap on his head. Oh, there was a load of
We
them.
don't know about health and safety
The top
here.
boy, little boy, but there was a pretty, there's...
Yeah. Didn't care. No. They just came down, had a good time. But this was all in Onlloyn.
The sports pavilion where Dilwyn Williams put on film shows for his friends and neighbours was also the site of a key event in the local calendar, Onlloyn's annual carnival.
There were crowds and crowds and crowds used to turn up to see the carnival.
The carnival attracted marching bands from all across South Wales, each with their own identity and uniform.
The Spanish ladies were in 7, weren't they? Do you remember them? And the gollywogs in Glynneath, and the clowns in Aberdare. We had the debonaires in Banwan. I remember seeing the zombies, not the zombies, the Zulus. Frightening the life out of me. Oh, Mrs.
Joshua.
She was a saint. She'd turn up every time, and she like that. Fair play.
Never wore anything different, only a Welsh costume.
A Welsh costume. Well, there's the Indians.
Yes. Good grief. But have you noticed anything, Georgina?
Well,
it hasn't rained in any of these movies.
Well, it wouldn't dare, look. Wouldn't dare.
Now we are talking. There's the tips in Onlloyn. And these would have all been working in the mines. All of them. They all had a sense of humour.
Yeah, good sense of humour.
Yeah, all of them, and they really did work hard.
Oh, look at little Nell.
Yeah.
Look at her going. Oh, she's a star turning, she had fair play. Everybody would take a day's picnic and enjoy. You know, look at them going.
This must have been the highlight of the year, I think.
Come the heatwave summer of 1976, Dilwyn was still out with his camera at carnival time. The debonaires and Zulus had, by now, made way for the Flintstones and Diddymen, but the people of Onlloyn were still as game as ever when it came to getting in the carnival mood.
You had somebody else's skirt that you tucked in. You were a gypsy. It was easy to be a gypsy. I mean, you didn't have to work hard at that. If they were a pirate, they had a cut-out pair of jeans and they had an handkerchief around their head. I mean, what more could you want, you know? Mr. Boyce.
Mr. Boyce.
Max Boyce's uncle.
That's my son there.
Having a bit of cake.
That's me. The old witch.
That's a good outfit.
Very appropriate, isn't it?
I didn't say nothing.
Oh, the chaps outside the...
Stalwarts of the village, Cara.
Yes.
Stalwarts of the village. Every one of them.
Look at the hot dogs, Georgina. 5p.
Yes.
Can you believe it?
Yeah, but we done a fortune.
Yeah.
5p, but they were buying hot dogs of us. I was the one that made the most money on the burgers because I had a low-cut dress. And I can assure you, we made more money than anybody else. And they came to buy the burgers, they didn't come to look.
Oh, they gone up 6p now.
Oh, no, it's a different lot. We were cheap.
All right.
The 1960s and 70s were a golden age for amateur film, with more cameras in the hands of enthusiasts than ever before. One of those who invested in a new cine camera during that time was Brian Bull, a man with a lifelong passion for film.
This is a camera I acquired after I acquired a family and decided that pictures of the baby would be just the thing. And this is a Bolex, clockwork-driven, standard 8 camera. Well, it's heavy, but being heavy helps you hold it more steady. It was a joy to use. It produced some very nice pictures. I think it cost me about £70, which in 1966 was quite a lot of money. Well, the film is, say, standard 8. Probably couldn't be processed anymore because it's probably well past its sell-by date. I should think this dates back, well, actually, there is a sell-by date on it, 1977. So I don't think we're going to get that processed anytime soon.
Brian's fascination with film stretches back to his early childhood.
My father came back from the Second World War. He was stationed in Germany and he came back in 1946 and he brought a toy 35mm projector with him. And I thought it was fascinating. And I used to sort of play cinemas with this very old film. After that, he took me to the Odeon cinema and he persuaded the management to show me the projection room. And up we went, and I thought this was the most magical thing I'd ever seen in my life.
Brian has just bought a scanner to digitise his old films and share them with his children and grandchildren. It's no surprise that even some of Brian's home movies are about the movies.
I heard that the Monty Python team was shooting Jabberwocky at Chepstow Castle. So I went down and I got quite a lot of shots of that. There's the sound recordist at work, and there's a young man there about to take his trousers down. These are the only memories I've got. It's the film, which is why definitely I want to preserve all this stuff, you see.
Like every good cine enthusiast, Brian took his camera on holiday with him, and the 70s were the age of the package holiday.
I haven't seen this film 40 years. The first shot starts off with a blank screen, as if I'm opening my eyes, and there's a shot between my feet of somebody standing looking at the bay at Portinach in Ibiza. We went to one club in Ibiza, and I remember we were drinking Spanish champagne, which was £5 a bottle. So for £1 you could get well and truly hammered. I remember sitting there thinking, I'm abroad. I'm in a nightclub watching Spanish dancing, drinking exotic wine. I thought it was wonderful.
While film was the perfect medium for capturing the bright colours and exotic sights of foreign holidays, some amateur filmmakers had more ambitious projects in mind. Overlooking the Menai Straits stands the family home of Welsh novelist Angharad Thomas. Angharad enjoyed a happy childhood here as one of 5 sisters. Today, she's returning to visit her father, Arial, who was a keen filmmaker when she was a child. Arial bought his cine camera when the family were holidaying in the Norfolk Broads.
There was a Dutch auction on the cine camera. It was £1 cheaper every day. It was more or less half price. And it was 5:25. It was a matter of deciding there and then quickly. And that was it. I walked in, bought it, and that was it. Didn't look back then.
Not long after buying the camera, Arial read a magazine article about how to build your own swimming pool. He decided he'd give it a go.
So o'r cychwyn, oeddech chi wedi benderfynu ffilmio'r peth, oeddech?
O, oedd mi nath y GC fi yna 5 pint alis i am. 5 pint.
O, di rei racsio'r lle, mae'r twll yn anferth, ydi?
Yndi. O, 1972.
Hwn mae'n gwneud beth i drostych chi. Ie.
Ie, hwn oedd yn ready mix.
I reid y sylfaen, ydi?
I roed yn y sylfaen.
A'r gwisio bach.
Slave trade.
Wrth watchad chi'n gwneud hyn, mae'n siŵr bod ni'n meddwl di'r pwll nofio yma bus yn mynd i fod yn barod.
Na, dwi'n siŵr.
Yna flwyddyn gyfad i fynd o'n.
Ond... Ond i fel... O gen i math o brofiad efo codi walian yn byd...
O, chi wedi gwneud o blaen?
Where Angels Fear to Tread ydy te. Yr un jumpers gyda i...
Bob tro.
Na, ci...
Da chi dal i wisgo?
Dal i wisgo. O, hiw.
Oedd hwn yn joint effort go iawn.
O, mae'n dipyn o'r bwysau.
Dwi'n siŵr am iechyd ydi o gylwch just y planc yna. Sain o'n wedi disgu.
Yw'n edrych safio yna.
O, mae fawr dŵr, ia. Hwn oedd y dechrau wneud o dimlo go iawn.
Gymodd wrthnos i lenwi hefyd.
Na.
Do.
Go iawn?
Do. Wel, y speed y tap oedd yn unig.
Be, tap y tu oedd o?
Ie.
O, na, mae wedi gorffan o'n.
Yndi.
O, sbiwch mae hwn o genedlaeth nisa.
Ew, ie, loes di hwnna.
Mae hi 10 ar 20 o'n.
Looking back, there must have been a sort of a creative streak in me somewhere that didn't get fully developed until I had a camera, perhaps.
What it did give me was a sense that nothing is impossible. Especially, well, I haven't gone to the degree of making my own swimming pool.
For Angharad, this is a house full of memories. Growing up here, her parents would emphasise the importance of enjoying family life together. There was no TV in the house, and so the cine camera became their home entertainment.
I was keen to do something with the camera. It involved all 5 children, which was essential, really.
And so Arial decided to produce family films on a cinematic scale. He set out to make a drama for each of his daughters. The first was an adaptation of Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, with Angharad in the lead role.
Ond yr un peth dwi'n gofio ydy'r sticio'r gwallt smal neu'r blew smal ar y wyneb.
O, ie.
Oedd o'n brifo wedyn I dynnu fo.
Ie. A spirit of Christmas, a spirit of Christmas cards, a parceli a bod dim... O, hwn oedd y part oeddech chi ofn.
O, ni wirioneddol ofn yn hwn. O, chwar teg, oedd chi gofyn I fi sbio ar y medd yn.
Ie.
Be a bobl drws nesaf I feddwl, de?
Ie, di siwr. Dwi'n ni'n be nath I Llyr roi wink. A ti chi rwan? Do'n i'n pam da nhw'n dod i mewn.
Ydych chi'n dweud ti?
Na fo.
A dwi'n meddwl yng ngho fi, mae di troi allan yn fwy proffesiynol ag o'n i'n disgwyl. Ond oedd i ni oedd oedd y ffilm go iawn.
Ie.
For Ariel and Angharad, these films have a bittersweet quality today.
A dyma beth sy'n neis. Y chi ffion. Dyn ni di colli hyd o.
Do, a mae'n gofnod o'i phlentyndod i mewn ffordd.
Yndi.
Especially as we've lost some members now, it's the only way to remember them, isn't it?
Yes, it's essential as far as I'm concerned. With Fionn, the youngest, we lost her when she was 46, and to see her alive again, it gives one terrific amount of pleasure.
The movies made by amateur filmmakers in Wales over the last century have become a series of moments suspended in time forever. Thanks to their curiosity and creativity, we've inherited a visual legacy that enriches our understanding of our past.
It brought back faces that I had long forgotten today.
My husband, he hasn't got a photograph himself as a child, while we've got this great library, and I think a period has been put down on film, hasn't it?
In setting out to record their family and friends, Welsh home movie makers created a unique people's archive of enduring value.
They've grown into something priceless.
As the years go by, people will cherish such films and the life that they depict.
This film, well, I think it deserves an Oscar.
These home movies, which captured life in Wales in all its glory, will live on to be enjoyed by future generations for centuries to come.